Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9. I'm Paul Kretschmer. Today a conversation with blogger Megan Portfolio, who works at the Yankee Institute for Public Policy in Hartford.
I'm Megan Portfolio, and I'm manager of research and analysis at Yankee Institute.
Okay, how long have you been at Yankee then?
A little over 4 years.
Okay, and have you been doing the same thing during that whole time, or have you shifted responsibilities a bit over time?
I shifted responsibilities. I got promoted to the policy department roughly 2.5 years ago.
Okay, and I understand from our prior conversation a moment ago that writing is something that you've been doing more than you had in the past.
I mean, I wrote a lot in school, and then I took a little break from it, and then Yankee really liked my take on a lot of different issues, so my boss had asked me just to start writing a blog, and it kind of took off. So every Friday now I put out a blog which you can subscribe to at yankeeinstitute.org.
Okay, what was the subject of your most recent blog for people unlike me who haven't seen it yet?
Oh, so I try to make it a little funny and yet serious. So this week it was about how the government wants to cure all things that ail us. And one of the topics was our Senator Chris Murphy has just proposed legislation to try to cure loneliness, which is a problem. I mean, especially after COVID and all the lockdowns, which he encouraged. So there is a epidemic going on with loneliness, but this is really not something that the government should be tackling, nor do they have the tools to tackle or to address such an issue.
I checked the places on YouTube that senators and representatives often use to publicize what they've been doing. And I must say, from my own perspective, it seemed a little unusual for a senator to be taking that up on the floor of the Senate. I might have expected him to talk to a constituent about it, or maybe at a group presentation back here in Connecticut, but to make it kind of an official sort of thing on the Senate floor seems a little unusual to me.
It's very unusual, and it's actually kind of offensive. I mean, who is the government to think that they have all power to just cure all ails, in society? It's like just stay out of our lives, please.
Okay. In your opinion, then, from your position, then, what would be some of the areas that you would more normally expect a member of a legislative assembly or Congress to pay attention to instead of loneliness?
I mean, national security is one, border security, fiscal matters, trying to lower our taxes, things that can actually impact our lives, not silliness like this.
Okay, we were talking just now about a federal senator in Washington, D.C. Are there instances that you cited in your blog or that you could recall at the moment where things like that have come up on the state level and taken legislative time that would be better devoted toward significant issues that we deal with every day right here in Connecticut?
Oh my goodness! Well, that's a loaded question. I could have how much time do I
have? My time is paid for already, so go to it.
Well, there's actually another part of my column this week. The government thinks that they can cure the environment, and so one of the topics I was talking about is our Department of Energy and Environmental Protection Commissioner has been lobbying to I call it to become the supreme ruler of the environment. She lobbied for it in the last, the 2023 session. Basically, she wants to just have any powers to create any regulations so that she can fix our planet. It would have allowed her to do things like enter into remember that TCI gas tax they were trying to push on us a couple years ago?
Yes, I certainly do. That was a topic that extended all the way through the legislative session that year, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, well, if she had the power that she wants, she literally could have just signed the contract, got us into it, and then we would have TCI right now. So the bill actually failed this year. It was 11:45. It didn't get called for a vote. So last week at a press conference promoting rebates for electric cars and bicycles. She mentioned 3 separate times how she wants more regulatory authority, and it's not really specific to like what she wants to do with it. Like, they're being very hush-hush about it. So basically all we know is, based on the legislation that got put in this session, 1145, it would have allowed her to develop these market-based compliance mechanisms, which is basically a fancy way of saying a carbon tax or a cap and trade. They keep changing the language on it to confuse us. But it would enable her to have that kind of power to enter into agreements with other states, and even Canada. That was actually in the bill, that we could enter into agreements with Canada to fight global warming and greenhouse gas emissions. But what's interesting is, at the same time going on right now, the Department of Transportation has declared that they would like for us to all lower our vehicle miles traveled by 5% from like the 2019, whatever calculations they came up with 2019. They want us to each of us lower our vehicle miles traveled by 5% by 2030. But this is just a goal. There's no teeth in it. So there's no penalty if you and I decide we can't or won't do it. But if the commissioner of DEEP has the authority and the regulatory power, she could start punishing us. She could tell us, well, if you drive, during rush hour, busy times of the day, you're going to be charged more, because just to get us to that goal of that 5%. So it's really scary, the powers that she would have.
That sounds reminiscent of the point you made a moment ago about TCI, which was, when I first saw that myself, I recognized that since I live in Vernon, Connecticut, and I work in Middletown, and the routes I take tend to be interstate highways or Route 9 in Middlesex County, someone like me could really get slammed for something like that. And since it's the minimum for me to get to work and function, that would, on a practical level, that would really hurt.
I mean, they're going to suggest that you take public transportation or get an electric bike, things like that, in order to reduce your miles traveled. But it's really not the government's place to tell us, how many miles we can travel to go to work. It's crazy.
Megan, is Connecticut governmental officials in danger of becoming the way they seem to be in California, where they throw up these regulations and then just simply say, okay, now do it?
Well, right now, I would say, to be fair, the majority party, like the speaker, he has common sense, and he does try to keep a lot of this crazy stuff at bay. Hence, this was never called for a vote. But you never know. You never know with the next election what we're going to get. So the short answer is maybe.
Yeah, because I know that many states, for practical purposes, piggyback on the California regulations. They simply adopt them either by reference or by simply copying and pasting the content of the regulations or laws in California and incorporate them into legislation here in this state and in other states. And it occurs to me that could be done very quickly and easily from the perpetrator's point of view, but maybe not quite so noticeable to constituents like me.
Well, when it comes to greenhouse gases, the feds give us 2 options. You either go with what they want, or you can go with the California standards, and Connecticut statute forces us to follow the Connecticut statutes on the greenhouse emissions. Like right now, in the regulatory department, they are taking public comment, and if you go to my column from last week, I linked to it, and basically it's to change our regulations for the light and medium and heavy duty trucks to match California.
Thank you very much, Megan, for making yourself available on this occasion to talk with me. I hope that we will be able to do this from time to time.
Oh, anytime, sir.
Once again, Megan Portfolio from the Yankee Institute for Public Policy. For further information, call us at 860-346-1049. Opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Paul Kretschmer on the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 WIHS.